Okay.
That woke me up.
From WCRS Studios in Greenwood, South Carolina, this is Meet Me at the Diner with your host, Ann Eller.
Oh, that's right. We're right here at WCRS. We can remember stuff. We can remember to be here at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and that's a good thing. We also can remember that we have a great guest this afternoon. We are blessed to have on the line with us here this afternoon the one and only Pam Stone, who was here just a few weeks ago with Greenwood Performing Arts, and that was so much fun. She brought a lot of humor and a lot of fun to the evening, and so without further ado, how you doing, Pam Stone?
Well, I'm just flawless, Ann. How are you?
Flawless. I love it. We can't see you, so how do we really know you're flawless? That's what I want to know.
That's why I get the big bucks. Nice to be here at the diner. I was thinking I might have a couple of fried eggs. What are they, $86 now? Is that what we're paying? 86? 87?
87. 87 today. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Don't you love? So I was watching Fox. I was watching Fox News, and they were talking about, the price of eggs, and one of the guests they had on from the administration was saying, well, this is a good time to get chickens. Did you see that? Did you?
Yes, yes, yes.
And a lot of people are getting chickens, and that's a good way to deal with this. And I'm thinking, that is such a city person thing to say, because those of us that have our own farms or live on acreage or who have ever grown up in the country say, do you have any idea how much that's going to cost?
Exactly.
Because you don't just have a couple of chickens living in the backyard. You buy yourself a coop, and how much are they at Tractor Supply? That starts at $500, right?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the food, and you got to be cleaning that out every day. All that so you can make a cake? I don't think so.
I know. I think it's. I do think that's crazy. And then I was talking to a friend. She's got a few chickens, and they keep getting gotten by the hawk. There's a hawk out there, and so the story is you can't have just one chicken because they don't like to be alone.
Well, that's right. I mean, they're kind of like herd animals, I guess. They're a flock animal, and that's what they like. And they don't exactly. The chicken hawks get them. And avian flu is out there, I mean, that's like if you live anywhere near water where there's geese, that's the thing. So it's like, and that's why we have a shortage, and that's why the prices are expensive. But I just laughed so hard when I heard, I thought, is that your answer really to tell America you need to go get some chickens? And there's people living in apartment buildings in cities saying, really? Is that going to work on my balcony? Is that how do I keep a chicken?
I agree. And then this friend of mine, because she's down to 3 chickens. I think she had 6 or 7 to begin with. So somebody told her, well, take the eggs that you get and put them in an incubator, and that way you can have more chickens. But now you don't have any eggs.
And now, and then you got to buy the incubator. It's like, no, let's just let it play out. Let's just let it play out. My parents were part of the greatest generation, and my mother went through the Blitz. She was English and lived in London during it. And, you had ration books. You had ration books before and after the war, and a family of 4 were allowed like 2 eggs a week, right? And, 2 pounds of flour, a pound of butter. You had to make do. And a lot of people, and that's when the allotments were so commonplace that you would see in England, that everybody, if they had 2 square feet of garden, people would plant vegetables to live on. And then in the cities, in the urban areas, they would create, instead of having a park, or they would take any brown area where nothing was growing, and they would fence it off, and people would have their allotments, and they would rent those very cheaply, and people would grow their vegetables all year round. Not a bad idea.
Right. So
Not a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea. And of course, that's where I think container gardening comes in. But I was thinking about what you said about 2 eggs. So in a family, do you have a lottery or do you pull straws to see who gets the egg? I mean, that's what I was stuck on. You said 2 eggs a week. So how does that work, Pam?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I think you would just not be eating eggs, but you would use those 2 eggs in something. So whatever you would make in a mixture and you just did without. And it was in those days, in the 40s, my mom would talk about, we're so lucky in this country because we've never been invaded.
Right.
We have had, yes, we have had depressions. Yes, we have had recessions, and we had victory gardens during the Second World War here as well. But we have never known what it is like to really go without it. My mother, being a young woman, she was so funny because she was very Hyacinth Bouquet. If you ever watch Keeping Up Appearances,
right?
She was very British and very proper. And she had actually a very good war, as they say, because she was. She said, well, you must remember I was single and I had a 26-inch waist. That's what she said about the war. But she couldn't get stockings. And those were the days when, you went out with your white gloves, right?
Right.
And your hat and stockings, and you would not be seen dead bare-legged. I mean, everybody's bare-legged today. But back then it was just, you were not seen. So you know what the girls did back then, Ann?
No,
those were when stockings had seams down the back of them.
Right.
My mother and her girlfriends used to draw a seam down the back of their legs so that it looked like they were wearing stockings.
Oh, my God.
Can you imagine? They would use brown eyebrow pencil, and they would draw a thick, dark line down the back of their calves. And the only thing is, if you forgot, and, ladies back then, when she was in school, you didn't cross your legs. You sat with your knees together like the Queen. Remember the Queen would always sit kind of at an angle. She would sit and take her legs, her knees together and ankles to one side. That's how you were absolutely expected to sit in the schoolroom. But as a young woman working, if you didn't think and you crossed your legs, well, then your line's all smudged, right at the end of the day. But just saying, eggs are expensive, but we can live. We can get by. It's not asking that too much. But I want to ask you, I had such a good time down at the Greenwood Country Club. And I've never worked at a country club before. I had no idea what to expect. I didn't. When Lisa called me and said, would you like to come down and do this show? I said, yeah, because there's people I want to see. I wanted to see you. I want to see my friend Richard Whiting, who's editor of the Index Journal.
Right.
And I've never worked a country club before. I never knew you could do comedy at a country club before. And I'm thinking, I don't have any golf jokes. I don't have any, this is, is anybody going to turn out to see a comedy show at a country club? But it was packed, wasn't it?
It was packed. It was great. You were awesome.
It was packed. And they were the best audience. As so many people said afterwards, like, I can't tell you. I can't even remember the last time I laughed that hard, or the last time I belly laughed. For my husband and I needed this so long, and I thought, oh my gosh. I mean, what a commentary that is. That because we're all, politically and what's going on in the world, we're all suffering. I think from a little PTSD right now. I mean,
absolutely.
It's like regardless of what side of the political aisle you're on, there's just a lot of stuff thrown at us every day. And it's hard, it's daunting to try to keep up. And when you hear someone say that they literally cannot remember the last time they had a belly laugh, that breaks my heart. I mean, that's like, we need to find a way to do that. So I'm so glad that you guys have this bourbon event coming up, and I want to know why I'm not a part of that.
Well, Gale Storm's coming.
Be real funny.
From New York. Maybe next year we'll make it really, we'll make it huge. We'll make it really huge, and we'll do comedy, bourbon, and good eats. Maybe that's what we should do.
Yeah, so it's called Bourbon and Blues, which is catchy. I get it.
Yeah, Bourbon and Blues. Yeah, they're going to have some Pappy Van Winkle for the bourbon. How about that? That's like $5,000 or $2,500. It's $2,500 to $5,000 a bottle. Yeah.
I I've never even heard of it. I've
Happy.
never heard of it. That's crazy.
Well, see, that's what
you
you're
buy
going
a
to...
bottle of that, you don't care about eggs.
Right. That's right. If you can afford that, who cares about the eggs, right?
Yeah, who cares about the eggs? In fact, you probably own a factory farm of chickens somewhere. That's what I'm thinking.
Here's
the thing. I would love, I had such a good time doing my stand-up in Greenwood. And the time before that was a few years before that at the theater, at your Greenwood Theater, which was fantastic. And we did that as a benefit for Big Oaks Rescue Farm, which was, it was such a great success. So I would love it. So you and I have to think up right now. We have to come up with something, and it's got to have alliteration, like Bourbon Blues. I'm thinking for my next show down there, I definitely want to come down and do another show. How about catfish and comedy?
Catfish and comedy, okay.
Do you think that would attract anybody? Is there like a big fish camp somewhere?
I was thinking of Cox and comedy. I was thinking of, wait a minute, I was thinking of Cox and comedy. What do you think about that?
Well, Anne.
Now, where's your mind at? I mean, I was just thinking, we could be Clemson and comedy. I mean, you know.
Yeah, that's pretty darn good. I'm thinking, I'm just throwing out anything that's illiterate that we can a little bit of alliteration for that. That's a catchy title for that, but that's not bad because you're awfully close.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, Eric, it could be a football rivalry with Clemson, Cox, and comedy. See, there you go. The Gamecocks. I'm talking about the Gamecocks, Pam. Come on.
I know. I just did a spit take, and I'm not even drinking anything. So I did a...
Well, that's why they let us come on the air together, huh?
Yeah, I think so. But I just had the best time, and I hadn't done comedy. So, I mean, I was really kind of nervous when I took the gig because I thought, well, it'll be fun. I haven't been down there a while, and I hadn't been on stage in a long time. You know, I just hadn't been doing much stand-up, but I thought, gosh, and you know, it's like I don't even remember what to wear. You know, I live on my horse farm, and all I do is my horses day in and day out, and I write my column. You know, that's
right.
Index Journal is one of those fine papers that carries it. And, you know, when you're living that kind of life, I don't even know what's in fashion. I didn't even know what to wear. I don't, you know, because I'm not following the trends. If I was touring, yeah, I want to look, you know, I want to look hip and, you know, at least fashionable, what's people wearing. And I got nothing to shop at where I live, so I've got to see what Carhartt has for their spring collection.
Well, don't you go to that hardware store right there in town or something? Isn't that where you hang out?
Yeah, we have a hardware store, but we have another shop that sells Carhartts, and that's all I wear most of the time. You know, riding boots and breeches and Carhartts, and you know, I'm thinking of, well, you know, they make little negligees, but they're scratchy and they're itchy, and you know, a little burlap teddy is what I'm looking for. It's a
little burlap teddy.
Yeah, like crotchless work boots. That's not what I'm going for.
I mean, you know, I can see the look. I mean, it's a visual. Yeah, you have to think about it for a second.
Little bib coverall with a little Daisy Dukes kind of gingham tough shoulder.
A little eyelet.
That I even remember.
A little eyelet. You know, white. Yeah, I see it. You know, but. Yeah. I think one of the things that I heard a gal come up to you and we started talking about your role when you were in Coach, you know, the TV show, and she looked right at you and she said, you know, you haven't changed a bit. And now I understand why, because you don't shop for anything. You're still right out of that time zone.
Well, and she did have her guide dog with her. For that, and she was very, very, very kind. I certainly have changed. I mean, I see myself changing, but it's like, you know, what's so funny is because I never wear makeup. I obviously when I do a show, I wear makeup. But do you wear makeup on radio on your show?
No, of course not.
So you're not wearing any makeup at all. When was the last time that you put on a full face of makeup?
Oh, I haven't put a full face on in years. I mean, I just kind of put a mask on, but I don't put on any makeup.
But no, if you're going out to, let's say you're going to an award show. Let's say that Meet Me at the Diner. You've been nominated for a Gracie Award show. What makeup are you gonna wear?
Probably just doll up my eyes, honey, and maybe put a little blush on and some lipstick and let it go.
Yeah. Okay. So same here. Now I'll put on exactly what you said and some foundation for that. But the funny thing is, when you go a long time without wearing makeup, like people are stunned that Pamela Anderson's not wearing makeup, and I think I'm so proud of her because she's still so freaking pretty.
Right.
You know, she still has fantastic bone structure and symmetrical features, her cute little turned up nose and her high cheekbones and her beautiful wide set blue eyes. You know, she's just not wearing an inch of spackle. But what I found is like when I was, well, that's what I wear. I have to put on Bondo. I have to put a little Bondo and spackle on. I'm ready to go. But it was like I couldn't even remember how to put my makeup on because that's how long it's been. I was in the bathroom. The first thing I did was stab my damn eye with the mascara wand. The first freaking thing I did. But I was like, oh, God, until I'm driving down to the gig and my right eye is like weeping all the way down and running my highlighter. It was just like, oh, this is just too much hassle. This is just
Pam, I was wondering why you were winking so much at people. Now I know.
I and then it's like, and then I look at myself, and then I come home from the gig. And what's the first thing I do? I pull in up to the house. I get out, and do I go into the house? No, because I have horses. So I turn left, and I walk right into the barn because it was around, midnight, 1 o'clock. And if I don't pick their stalls at night, then there's twice as much poop and pee to clean up in the morning. So I go in my little show clothes with all my makeup on into the barn. What time did I get home? Midnight, 1 o'clock or something like that.
Right.
And I go in and I turn on the lights, and my horses looked at me like I was the whore of Babylon. They were like, they spooked, they snorted, they ran backwards. They've never seen me with makeup. They've never. I'm always the bedraggled broad that comes in the morning. This is how bad I look. When my local feed store is called the Hay Rack, and the late Don Williams, not the recording artist, but Don used to own the Hay Rack, and he was the feed store manager. And I remember going into the hay rack one day to get a big truckload of hay and feed, and I had, instead of just grabbing a T-shirt out of the dryer, I think I had run like an iron on it, which I never do. I mean, why would I do that? I'm going to be in the barn all day. What do I care if it's creased or not? For some reason, I had like a press, and you know what? It was a new T-shirt. That's why it was pressed. And I had a T-shirt on my jeans, and I walked in, and Don looked at me and said, "Pam, you going somewhere special today?" Because that's how bad I look. Is that when I had a neat T-shirt on, somebody thought I had a lunch date or something. And what's worse, and one of the other reasons I don't like wearing makeup much is because when you do, and people in town see you, the first thing they say is, "Oh, you should wear makeup every day." You should. Yeah. That's the first thing they say. It's like, you should, and it's women trying to say, the Southern women, when they say that, and you're like, okay, evidently I look so bad. When people say, "Oh, no, seriously, you need to be wearing makeup every day," it's that kind of like backwards compliment when someone comes up to you and says, "Oh, Anne, I love your dress. Did you make it?"
And then what do they say? "Bless your heart."
Bless your heart. Did you make that?
And you're being stabbed in the back right there, only they're looking right at you.
Right there in front of you. And I'm like, "Would you like a saucer of milk with that, Abby?"
Yeah, that's about what it's like.
That's about what it's like. That is about what it's like. So,
Yeah, well, I actually quit wearing a lot of makeup when I moved to the South because, you'd put it on and it'd be if it was hot, it would be running and you just say, why bother? So that's when I got out of wearing makeup. I just said, why bother?
Well, yeah, in the summer, with the humidity, it's just a river. It's just a river running down your neck. And what is exactly? And I frankly think that, I hate the phrase, but come on, we are women of a certain vintage. As we age, the less makeup you wear, the younger you look, because it's just that, I start getting lines on my face you could plant corn in, so it's like when you wear foundation and you have your crow's feet and that sort of thing, it just settles right in there. It just settles right on in there. And that's what, that's what ages you. But
I want to know how you get the Bondo to match up the color. Do they make that? I mean, I didn't realize you could get Bondo to fill in the creases like that, Pam.
Oh yeah, and and what I want to get, like, do you ever notice on Facebook on your feed, on the advertisements they have on Facebook or on Instagram? Do you ever get the one for Perbel? And it's like it's a foundation. It's like looks like it's white, and these women give testimonials. I mean, it's on my feed constantly, and like you'll have women anywhere from 30 to 80 years old, like with the worst skin. Just like they've either had scars or they've spent a lot of time in the sun, and they put this on. And I guess Perbel gives it to them for free if they do a testimonial. Have you ever seen that?
I'm not sure I've seen that one, but I've seen other types like that. But yeah, and once you ever look at one of those and you go, well, let me check this out, you are inundated on your feed with all these type of things.
Well, that's right. That's the algorithm, and it took me too long to figure that out. So all I get is Perbel, and I always want to do a parody of one, like film myself in the bathroom, because they always say now it kind of goes on and just like use wet cake flour or something, and just until you start looking like a mime. So you're on like, oh, look, it hides, and my skin is flawless now. There's such an even tone. Just put it on the feed. But I don't know. I don't have the time.
Yeah.
I always have these ideas that I never follow through with.
I saw one the other day. This wasn't about makeup, but it was about famous sexy scenes. Let's just call it that. Sexy dancing
well, what have you
and everything.
Been looking at on your algorithms, Ann? I never see that.
Well, anyways, they were showing these really sexy dance routines and everything. And then they had this gal that was definitely not sexy recreating them. It was one of the funniest things I've seen.
I saw that today, and I think she's Australian, and she's a little chunky.
Yep, that's her.
And she's brunette, and I look at her, and I bow before her. I am not worthy, because you know what? It takes a lot of guts for women. I think this is really difficult for women to make themselves look as physically unattractive as possible for the laugh. And she does that. If you've got a little bit of a belly on you, or you got a little bit of a bum or some thighs, which she does, and exactly, she shows the video first of some size 0 girl that's so skinny that if she ate a boiled egg, it'd look like an ostrich, that swallowed a golf ball going down its neck. And these girls are gyrating, and they're just so sexy, and that it shows her trying to copy the move. She's just, everything is jiggling and everything falling out and everything like that. And I'm like, you go. I mean, she's just so committed for the laugh. You know who else is a little bit like that is Leanne Morgan.
Really? I don't think I've...
Yeah, well, I mean, Leanne doesn't go to that extent, but she's, when she makes fun of her thyroid or eating too much, white flour or whatever, she'll sometimes wear things that don't hide everything. And I respect her. I think she's hilarious.
Yeah.
I think she's hilarious. And I think I need to work with her because, she's got a sitcom.
Right. Yeah. I think
Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that, but okay. Yes.
She has Chuck Lorre, who did everything like Grace Under Fire and Roseanne and all that. He offered her a sitcom, and it's about she and her husband have separated, and they haven't decided yet if they're gonna stay married or not. And it's her like sticking her toe in the dating pool. So, which is kind of great because it goes with her, because she said, I love my husband, and if I'm going to do a sitcom, I don't want to do it where we don't like each other because we're never going to split up. We're together. And I thought this was a brilliant way to take a sitcom. And I thought, at some point, they're going to have to cast her sister or a family member, and I need to play that part.
Ah, I see. Well, I think that sounds good, and I was thinking about what you were saying. You hadn't been on the stage, you hadn't done a lot of comedy, but you know what? Comedy is back in again. That's what I wanted to say. Comedy's back in, and I think for so long, nobody was, able to make fun of each other. We lost that art of just good old poking fun at each other.
Well, oh gosh, I mean that is so true. I mean, it's like, and when I started out, there were so many artists. Well, I won't call them artists, just comedians that were so politically incorrect.
Right.
So politically incorrect. And I mean, you could not say, and frankly, with a lot of them, you wouldn't want to say it because for me, I know a lot of people are saying, oh, I just hate people being so politically incorrect. But to me, the essence of political correctness is about being kind. It's about not name calling. It's about not going to a cheap stereotype. And if you can write your material and just, go higher, go to a higher level. You look at people like Jerry Seinfeld and you look at his material, and that's a great example of it. When you see his stand up, it's all observational. There's no reason to go into places, but man, and I'll tell you the funniest thing before we wrap this up. I used to do, and I still do, some corporate work, because that's every comedian's dream is corporate gigs, because you don't have to be in a club. You don't have to work a club for a long weekend and, fly in and do all these shows. You fly in, you do one show, and you're out of there. But you got to work really clean. I mean, that's what your agent will always tell you is like, okay, I can remember doing things for Nintendo and Anchor Foods and Kraft and, just these huge, huge gigs. And I remember one, and I won't say for what company it was, of course, but I remember my agent saying, all right, now the CEO's in the audience, and this is a very white-collar, very conservative audience, and you've got to work squeaky, squeaky clean. And I said, I will. I always do. There's no problem with that. And so you go, and I see the guy in the audience and everything, and it went really well. And afterwards, he comes up to shake my hand and say how much he enjoyed it. And then he proceeds to tell me because they always want to tell you a joke.
Right,
like, hey,
right.
And he proceeds to tell me the filthiest, most racist joke. And I just had to, and I'm picking my jaw up off the floor, like, and I had to kind of stop him, and I had to thought, in my head is spinning like, okay, I don't want to offend him. I don't want to insult him because I haven't been paid yet. And,
right, you haven't gotten paid yet.
Check,
okay.
But I cannot. I've got to scrape up some integrity, and I'm not okay with this joke. I find this incredibly offensive, and I kind of had to put my hand on his arm, and I said, "Oh, you know what? Somebody just told me that joke last week. That's how I shut it down. But isn't that like crazy?
That is.
That like they're so white collar, so squeaky clean, but then when they're away from the crowd, or you should say base, some of them was like, Lord of mercy. So that's why I'm going for catfish and comedy.
Catfish and comedy. Well, we've got the Catfish Festival down here, in May. So
are you kidding me? You have a fish camp?
We have a Catfish Festival in Ware Shoals, South Carolina. Yes, ma'am, we do.
That is so fun.
I tell you what, I'll make a call and see if they might be interested in having the Pam Stone come down for Catfish and comedy.
That would be so good on my resume because, I'm one of the very few comedians, one of the very few female comedians that have ever performed at the White House. And that should be right up there with my Nintendo gig and the White House.
I think it should be above the White House, truthfully.
The Ware Shoals Catfish Festival.
And it's called Festival. It's not festival, it's Festival.
Festival.
Yes.
I want that gig. I want that gig. I'm at this point in my career where I want those crazy gigs.
I'll call the mayor. I'll call the mayor and talk to him about it.
And is he like Sam Drucker on on Petticoat Junction, where you go meet the mayor and then he steps over and he puts on a different hat, and he's also like runs the hardware store?
Well, he's actually a special ed teacher in the high school. How about that? And he's the mayor of Ware Shoals.
Then he is completely qualified.
I know. And that's why I'm going to go ahead and call him and talk to him and see if we can get you this gig. I think it would be cool. And then you can come on the radio here and we'll promote the heck out of it.
Well, I'm going to just make you my manager of Greenwood.
Okay. I can handle that.
I'm going to just make you my manager, and I'll kick back the percentage of commission to you. You just find me these catfish feastables, and what else do I need?
I'm telling you, you'll be set for life, Pam.
I'll be set for life. One show, goodbye.
That's right. You better start working on your material now, honey.
I will. Oh my gosh, I will. And it's all they have is catfish. They don't have anything else.
Well, I think they have some other things, but that's it. They cook up what 8,000 pounds or something of catfish. It's huge.
Oh,
I can't believe you've never heard of this.
I've never heard of it. I don't eat much catfish. But look, I've been missing out. Evidently, I've been missing out.
I'll tell them you definitely eat catfish, no problem, right?
Hey, that may be an idea for South Carolina Public Radio or North Carolina Public Radio, like the weirdest festivals throughout the Carolinas.
Well, we got a lot of them now,
Yeah, I mean, they're all barbecue. I mean, every town's got a barbecue festival, but I mean, the cat feastival. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that.
Catfish, yes.
Catfish Feastival. That's the best feastival I've ever heard of.
Okay, all right.
And I want it, Ann.
All right,
I want that
wait a minute. I'm on it. I am on it for Pam Stone. I have a mission.
I appreciate it, and all the catfish you can eat.
That's right. And they have an amphitheater over there, so we've already got the area set up for you. Yeah.
Wow.
And
wow.
we've got it. We've got it. And it would be like going back into the 1950s. I like to call it like Mayberry RFD. It's that kind of feel to it. Really cool place.
Love it.
Regal Mills was at that town until they pulled out. I mean, they were big over there. So FYI, that's a little background, but look it up. Ware Shoals, South Carolina.
Well, I've certainly heard of Ware Shoals, and see, that's one of the things that I love about comedy, because you will end up going to towns that you never would have gone to or hardly heard of, and then you just fall in love with them. And you just say, where have I been all my life?
That's right. That's right. Well, Miss Pam Stone, I have another guest. I hate to have to let you go, but I'm going to have to let you go. And we'll have to get back together and talk again real soon.
Anytime, my dear. You have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll talk soon.
All right. You have a good one. Bye, Pam. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
You bet.
All right. That was the one and only Pam Stone right here on WCRS. From the horse barn. Yep, she had the horses hanging around with her. They were all looking at her. No makeup today, so they felt good and comfortable. Hey, we're going to have a quick break right here on WCRS Radio. We'll have the break on the radio. We'll have a little music on WCRS Facebook. I hope you're enjoying the show today. So you stay right with us, and we will be right back right here on WCRS Radio. That's right. We're right back here at WCRS Radio. And yes, we're on the radio. Yes, we're on Facebook Live. Yes, we just had a hysterical time with the one and only Pam Stone. We have a good time talking, and I've got a mission now. I got to see if I can get her a gig at the Catfish Festival. She wants to do catfish and comedy and catfish. I think that could be interesting, so we'll check that out. But now moving on, coming up this Saturday is the Lake Greenwood cleanup. This is always a huge trash event, and it's just amazing how they clean up every year, and yet every year there seems to be as much or more trash. And if it wasn't for all the volunteers that come together to do this, we would have, I think the lake would be filled up with trash. We wouldn't have a beautiful lake like we do. So we got to say a big thank you to our volunteers. And this afternoon, we have the Keep Greenwood County Beautiful event coordinator for this, Diane Sponenberg. Okay, Sponenberg.
Now you got it.
Now I got it. So how are you doing this afternoon, Diane?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for having me on and able to speak about the Lake Greenwood cleanup.
Right.
And keep Greenwood County beautiful.
Absolutely. So tell me what we've got, about how many different locations? Go ahead and just tell us what happens. It's from 9 to 12 this Saturday.
Right. It's from 9 to 12 this Saturday, and we have 7 locations. We have Camp Fellowship, Moon's Landing, Break on the Lake, Lake Greenwood State Park, River Fork Boat Ramp, Harris Landing, and Buzzard's Roost. So you can pick whichever one you want to go to, and you arrive. We start picking at 9.
So what time should people get there?
Start getting there about 8:30 so that you can register if you did not register online. And we also have waivers that you have to sign there. So that helps us know how many volunteers we had.
Right.
So...
But yes. This is a huge undertaking. This is a huge undertaking to coordinate all these volunteers. Now, roughly how many volunteers do you usually have for an event like this?
Well, in past years, the first time that I was involved, it was like almost 300 people. And then it started dwindling down. And last year, because of the weather.
That was terrible.
Terrible, but we still had 120 volunteers that still came out in the rain and all. And still picked up.
Right.
And so that it was a success because we ended up picking over 4,000 pounds of trash around the
outside
lake
edges,
and then also the roadways.
Wow.
The surrounding roadways. We also, because everything will travel down into our lake.
Yeah, are we still having a problem with people putting tires in the lake? I mean, that's yeah.
I know, and I don't understand why people do that. They can go and drop it off.
Well,
you're allowed 4 tires. You can drop off 4 tires, I believe, a day, and per day at the convenience center, at the landfill.
Oh, okay.
At the landfill, you have to go to the landfill, but they take them. So let's not be putting tires out in our community.
I think a lot of people like to put them in there to get the fish to have an area to be. Isn't that true? I think that was one of the things.
That could be the possibility, but it's still not.
Right.
Put your Christmas tree.
Yeah. Right.
Right. So.
But so how many years has this been going on? It seems like I've been on the air since 2007. It seems like it's been going on for a pretty long time.
Well, that's what I'm trying to find out. It's been over 10 years.
Right.
Since Keep Greenwood County became an organization, which it's a nonprofit organization. And it's been here, like I said, for over 10 years, and it's affiliated with Keep America Beautiful. And we rely on community volunteers and are operated by donations, sponsorships, and grants. So and I believe that they've been doing the lake cleanup for over 10 years since the conception of Keep Greenwood County Beautiful.
Now, when you register for this event, do they give you anything to work with, to pick stuff up with?
Oh yes, you'll come. You'll come to whatever location you'd like to start at, to work from, and we have pickers, and we'll have gloves. We have vests. I do, I would wear pants and boots if you can. You don't want to. You're there for picking. You're there for picking. You're not there for looks. So no makeup either.
No makeup. Yeah, we just were talking about that with Pan. You don't have to put the Bondo on for this project.
No. And then I, like I said, you just come out and pick up some litter, and we'll get you some dinner. Also, it's served at the break on the lake, like it's from 9 to 12.
9 to 12 is the work time.
The work time, well, usually about 9 to 11:30, quarter to 12, and then everybody then comes to break on the lake, where we serve food. We serve food there. Kevin Prater's famous chili, Chick-fil-A, Papa John's pizza, Shipley's Donuts, and along with Pepsi products.
So it's going to be almost like food truck type.
It's free. That's a big thank you from us to you for spending your Saturday morning with us, picking up trash, and then we also hear stories about the craziest things that people might find out there.
What's the craziest thing you've ever picked up out there on a trash pickup that you can talk about on the air? Okay, that you can talk about on the air. What's the craziest thing?
Oh my gosh, I just craziest things. Really, the most thing that bothers me is those little picks that people use to
clean their teeth.
It's like they just throw them out. Like they use it once and then they throw it out in the ground. And that to me is crazy. We've already
found any underwear out there?
Oh, honey, I could have.
That's what I was thinking about.
I found, yes, ma'am. Yes. I could for 7 days. I'd have a different outfit. Yes.
People lose their clothes out there, huh?
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy.
I just don't know. People must be streaking.
Streaking at the lake. Okay, there you go. There's a fun activity. Maybe they could do that for the flower festival. Streaking at the lake. There you go.
That's a good idea. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. So anyway, but yeah. So right now we have over 200 volunteers that have registered.
Wow, that's great.
Okay, which is great. And but you can still, if you didn't register, you can still show up. So please show up.
Well, and is registration closed, or can you register today, tomorrow?
You could still register. We just like having an idea of how many people. So we make sure we have enough supplies and the food and all that.
Right. Well, and how do you register?
You just go onto our Facebook page,
which is
Keep Greenwood County Beautiful.
Okay.
Facebook page, and it'll be on there, and you can scan the QR code, excuse me, or go in through the link, and you'll be able to register, and it does not take long.
And I understand that this is also a great activity to bring your kids out with you to do.
Yes, believe it or not, we have a lot of Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts. We have like some of the high school and middle school.
Well, there's a big article in the Index Journal today about that.
Yes, they come out, and it's if you have to have any kind of community service, it's part of it. Mm-hmm. And then you also get to meet interesting people, and then you also will realize after doing this how much trash there is in our community.
Right.
And you'll notice it, and then hopefully that'll get you motivated to help us more often.
Right. Well, I mean, there's not only, but there is Trash Time with Tara. I mean, she does that on a regular basis. I mean, that's the mayor's wife. She's out there doing good things.
Yes. And then we also have a crew of us on Friday mornings that meet. and we are branded the Litter Warriors.
The Litter Warriors?
Yes, we go out and
I understand they tell you where that's really bad and tell you where it is. Yes.
Yes. Luckily, we work closely with Amber Napier, the Greenwood County Litter Coordinator, and she'll let us know where there's hot spots, which means that there's a lot of litter and that we can go and pick up because she'll get complaints. So then we go ahead and we go out and we pick up the litter and then we let her know. And then she has 2 guys that'll come and then pick up all the trash bags and all the trash.
You know, that truly is amazing. That truly is amazing. How many people are in your group, your Litter Warriors?
It varies, right? We've got probably about 6 to 9 people. Sometimes there's only 3 of us out there. It depends if you can, make it on that particular Friday. Of course, we're not doing it tomorrow because we're resting up for Saturday.
Right. Yes. Well, that's
so
good.
Yes. So if you ever, again, go into our Facebook page and you'll find Litter Warriors, or we can even set you up and you can have your own little Litter Warriors at a different date and time. Mm-hmm. It's up to you. You can also.
Isn't it a shame, though, that we have to do this?
Yes. I have always said that.
Yes. I think the thing that I was reading in the Index Journal, the article that was done, was that we've got to start at that younger age level to get them into the idea about not littering.
Right, and that's where education comes in, which we do have an education program with Keep Greenwood County Beautiful that Miss Anne Marie Glass, she's the chairman of that, and she goes into schools to educate the children, and she gets help with we're also affiliated with Palmetto Pride, which is South Carolina's litter organization, and they come into the schools and they'll do puppet shows and read books and so forth. We've given trees away. We even had Miss South Carolina, our own little girl from Greenwood. She helped us plant trees with the elementary school kids and everything, and it was just wonderful, and just planting the seed,
The seed, yep.
And then hopefully those kids can then educate the parents.
Well, I think that because that is what I was going to say. It's the adults and eventually maybe you'll work yourself out of a job.
Oh, that's okay. I'm not complaining about that.
I don't know when that'll be, but
I know. But
for
right now, we've got a lot of garbage to pick,
and
everything. But so
you know what I think is so bad is people complain, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they call Greenwood County. There's litter over here. You guys go out and pick it up, and I'll bet there's not a few weeks that go by, and guess what? She's calling you saying, "Hey, there's litter back at that place you just cleaned up."
We do have a lot of hot spots, a lot of areas where people just get rid of junk and or just it's sad. It is very sad, and I don't understand why people litter like they do. For instance, we also we have a law here: tarp your load. You will get fined if you don't have a tarp. So we also give out free tarps, and at each convenience center, like we'll do an event, a drive, and we just to educate people. And a lot of people do not know that they are supposed to tarp their loads because they just don't. They just drive it in and stuff, and
stuff goes flying
and
out,
flies out, and it can also cause accidents.
That's true.
And everything. So let's be a little bit more careful about that and tarp your load down.
That's right.
And
I know they even have cameras at some of the county places where they have problems.
That's where Amber comes in, and as the litter coordinator, there's some cameras set up, and people do get fines.
Yeah.
We also, if we happen to see garbage, and if somebody's name's on that piece of garbage, you're going to get a knock on the door,
Well, good.
And so forth. People need to be accountable. They need to. Why? are they doing this?
My husband and I used to own Sharp Facets, and we were over on the bypass right next to Burger King. And people would drive into Burger King. They would drive out of Burger King, come through our parking lot, and they would throw the stuff out. My husband, Jeff Eller, would go out there and he'd say, "Hey, pick up your trash." And that's the other thing, diapers. Oh, my God. That was so disgusting.
Yes. We see quite a few diapers, and I'm like, oh my goodness, what are you doing? Changing the diaper as the car is moving and then throwing it out the window. Safety, there's no safety there, you know, so it's crazy.
It is. Well, I think, and particularly because, I know the lake is a big project and one we want to, because the lake is one of our biggest assets. That being said, so are a lot of other areas in our community. Everybody has a right to have a clean neighborhood.
Right. We do. Who wants to see all that, litter in front of you and garbage and stuff? And if you just, like I said, educate people and do like some little areas in neighborhoods and stuff. I know she's done that. And some kids there in the neighborhood actually joined her and helped her pick up litter, which was wonderful, and it makes them have some ownership.
Right.
This is my neighborhood.
Have pride in it.
Have pride
in it. Right.
Yes.
Exactly. Well, it's definitely an education. It's definitely something that needs to be constant on everybody's brain. And I can remember a few years ago when they had lots of cigarette butts in Uptown Greenwood.
Yes.
And they started a campaign to do it. And you know what? The campaign worked, but you couldn't let off of it.
Right. You got to constantly be on top of it. That's what happens. Yes. You have to constantly. You cannot just let it run on its own. So that's where volunteers come in.
Right.
To help us,
So again, if somebody wants to start, if somebody is sick and tired of their neighborhood looking trashy, how would they go about doing something there, Diane?
Well, they can contact Amber Napier, who is our Greenwood County Litter Coordinator, and she can give you ideas, or you can go on our Facebook page if you want to reach out to us, because we have events. We tried to we had MLK event where we went around and had people around picking up trash,
right?
To honor the man, Martin Luther King Jr.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff. So that's what you would do, is just contact Amber at Greenwood County Litter Coordinator, and she'll be able to set you up with ideas and the supplies also.
So they'll even give you the supplies to do that?
Gives you the garbage bags, the vests, the pickers, gloves. You just have to show up and be ready to pick some trash.
Yeah. Well, I think it is an excellent project. A lot of projects for, like you said, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts. I mean, all of these type of things. And we need to be vigilant on it, because Greenwood is too beautiful to get ended up looking trashy. The lake pickup is Saturday, March 8th from 9 to 12. They have 8 locations: Camp Fellowship, Moon Landing, Break on the Lake, Lake Greenwood State Park, River Fork Boat Ramp, Harris Landing, and Buzzard's Roost. And if you'd get out there about 8:30 or so, that would be great. The pickup goes from 9 to 12. I wanted to tell you what the weather is going to be on Saturday, because it certainly is different than last year. Saturday, we are looking, except for a few afternoon clouds, mainly sunny, high of 76. So that's going to be beautiful weather.
Yes. It would be nice time for you to just come on out and be in the fresh air and get some exercise. And then
But wear long
afterwards,
pants, right?
wear long pants. Yes, I would definitely wear long pants.
And some boots or
sneakers or something. You don't want to be with flip flops and all
exactly.
that kind of stuff.
Because
So,
you're going to be picking up trash, and you never
in
know
the
what you're going to find.
grass
Yeah,
and sides of the roads or even along the lake,
right.
the shore of the lake.
Well, I sure appreciate you coming out, Diane. You want to give them your telephone number to contact you if they have questions or would like more information?
Yes, sure. Again, my name's Diane Sponenberg, and I can be reached at 864-554-6692. And hopefully, I actually want to give your your listeners a challenge. I challenge your listeners to be the solution and not the pollution in our community.
The solution. That's very good. The solution. But sometimes. But if you do programs and that type of thing, people should reach out to you to see about doing a program, because sometimes it's just getting everybody on the same page in a community.
Exactly. That's where, like I said, the schools, especially. I mean, there's this puppeteer show that is so awesome,
right?
And the kids love it, and it's upbeat, and it explains about litter and what it does to our community, and it's only 20 minutes long, and it's free.
Right?
It is free. You just have to schedule it, and and like I said, you just reach out to us via Facebook or call me, and I will put you in contact with our education
That would
chair.
be even good for church groups.
Oh, yes.
Church groups. It doesn't have to be just school, but church groups and this type of thing. So as we go into spring, it's just the most beautiful time of the year.
Yes.
We need to make sure that we're not seeing a lot of trash around here. Let's not be a trashy Greenwood. Let's be a cleaned up and beautiful Greenwood, which is what we're known for, and with over 200 volunteers. Maybe you have too many volunteers. You probably
Never. There's always litter.
There's always litter. The more people that help, the less you'll have to pick, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's right. And on top of that, you get a free lunch out of it.
Oh, my gosh, yes. So please come on out, join us. We would appreciate it. Get to know Keep Greenwood County Beautiful, our nonprofit organization, because we're always looking for volunteers. We need board members, because we have a board.
Right.
We just need some volunteers, and it doesn't take much, I promise.
Well, I think people should give you a call. Call Diane, 864-554-6692. That's 864-554-6692. Diane, thank you so much for coming out this afternoon.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Wasn't so bad, was it?
No, it wasn't. I'll let you know. See what my kids say.
See what your kids say? All right. Well, they're going to say, wow, Mom, you did a great job. I know.
Yeah, yes,
right.
They will.
So, anyways, it's this Saturday. The weather's going to be beautiful. Get out there early and enjoy cleaning up the lake, and then you'll have a place you can go really enjoy all summer long.
You got it.
And when you're thinking about throwing that thing out, think twice about it, because you could be picking that up next year, right?
Yes, yes, sure can. So please do not do that.
And you also get a free T-shirt, right? Is that...
The free T-shirt, you had to register by a certain date.
Oh, okay.
But we will have some other T-shirts, but they're first come, first serve. And I think we're going to have some other little items to give away.
Cool.
First come, first serve. So.
Well, that is terrific. Well, it's Keep Greenwood County Beautiful. It's called KGCB. It took me a moment to figure that out. Yep, but it's Keep Greenwood County Beautiful. Check it out on their Facebook page or give Diane a call. She'd love to talk to you. 864-554-6692. And get out of bed Saturday morning and go do something good for our community. All right, Diane, thank you so much for being here today. We are going to say adieu as we switch over. So thanks, everybody. I'll be back tomorrow morning. So make sure you tune in right here on WCRS Radio. Bye-bye, everybody. Diane, thank you so much for coming out today.
You're welcome.